Hi, I will show you how I created this short male hairstyle. First I will do the quick breakdown. So you can see in here I have this split line, and the way I created that was by splitting scalp into two mesh islands. So I marked this edge as sharp and then use edge split. So this way we have one mesh island from which the strands can go and follow to the left. And then from right island, the strands can go and follow to the right side. I will explain that in detail in the second. So on top of this scalp, I added few guide curves on top of it. I can show you this is how they look. So those green strands are not too dense, because the less strands there is, then the less grooming I have to do. I added quite a bit of them around the split line, so I have nice flow around this area. So on top of those green guides, I added two hair systems, the red and green. Without them, we just have those guides. Then with the red hair system, I just add more density to the hair setup. And with the green hair system, I add the final look to the hair. Now I will show you the red system. The red system will follow those green guides, because in the parent column I use this guide tag. This means that the red system will follow the strands with guide tag assigned to them. But where are those strands with guide tag defined? They are set up in this setup section. So here we connect the scalp and guide curves, and also we assign the guide tag to the guide curves. Now I will do the breakdown starting from the strand generator. It will be easier to see if I reduce the radius maybe like 10 times. And now you see we have those strands distributed in the kinda even pattern. You can change the pattern in strand generator in here. And you may think that this will be very visible, this pattern, on the final hair. But actually, because I add other deformers like noise and randomized texture, you won't notice this grid pattern. One important parameter to keep in mind in this strand generator is use mesh island splits. Without it, we will ignore the split scalp, and we don't have a clean split line. With use mesh in splits, now we have the clean split line. Okay, so after generating strand, I use UV region distribute, where I picked two UV regions, so this one and this one. So you can shift click to pick as many UV regions as you want, and then each strand will randomly pick one of those green selected texture spots. Now, in theory, this is not needed in here, because later I will replace those red strands anyway with the green hair system, but it just looks better with this UV region distribute. Then I add a bit of flow to the hairstyle with the noise deformer. Notice that some strands were pushed inside the character head, so I push them out, and after that I use align tilt. Now the green system is a bit more complicated, as you can see in here, but basically if I show you the colored overlay, the green system is completely replacing the red hair cards. The red hair cards are there mostly as target for the clamps. Okay, so let me do the breakdown, starting again from the same strands to the UV pattern. This time I added a bit more density, and just like previously, use mesh island splits to get clean split line. Then I added slide points. The idea behind this is that if you have character head with the hair strand usually bends more close to root, so I want to slide more points toward the root without increasing like point count everywhere. Then I use UV region distribute, where I picked multiple UV regions like those red boxes, which are good for shorter hairstyle. Maybe let's enable align tilt. This is how it looks now. Then I use radius set to taper the strands. Clamps. The clamps density is defined by red hair system density. So if I reduce density, we get few bigger clamps. Then I increase density a bit more, and we get something like this. I also mask the clamping effect with this kind of vertex group. Then I use move to border. The effect is subtle, but the idea is that we have border edges on the scalp mesh and also in here. If we have some strand close to it, I can move this even closer to the border edge. So this way it will look like we have more density in the most important places, also in the front and in the split line. Without it, you would have to add more density like everywhere. I can show you the mask, so only the white hair strands are affected with this deformer. Then I add a bit of noise, adjust the length and increase this slightly using this kind of mask. Then I snap the hair to reduce the volume. Then I push them out because, for example, in this area, again, we are clipping the hair strands through the character head. So I push everything out. Then we have the simplify. Without simplify, if I show you the poly count, we have 45,000 trees. With simplify, now we have 10,000 trees, so 4 times less triangles. It works so well in here because without simplification, we have around 8 faces for the shorter strands and 8 faces for the longer strands. After simplification, you see the minimum point count for the shorter strands is set to 1. So we have just 1 face now for the shorter strands and 6 faces for the longest. Okay, so now one issue is that some strands are a bit too straight, like you can see those straight segments. To fix that, I can use subdivide at angle. Now, the way it works, let's imagine we have two segments like this with angle between them 40 degrees. So if we have angle that is 40 degrees or less, we can subdivide the strand using this deformer. So you see 40 degrees that is set to threshold for the split. This will increase the poly count slightly, but it's not that bad. From 10,000 we went up to 12,000. Then I use align tilt to mesh border. Without align tilt to mesh border, the hair cards are kinda oriented this way, but I want them to go this way. So this is what the align tilt to mesh border does. And with this kind of mask, only white strands in the front are affected. And if I show you in the solid view, the shading looks a bit flat. So I randomize tilt on the hair strands. We can bump up the amplitude like that. And lastly, I want to change this black and white gradient. This gradient is called the factor vertex color attribute. It is used in the hair shader for colorization of the roots and tips. Now I do not want it to look like that, so I customize that with the set factor deformer to something like this. If I show you the mask, now I made the shorter strands darker, and also I remove the black part from the roots in the front. The roots in the middle are still black, as you can see in here. So without and with customized factor attribute. Lastly, I use the system color to add a bit of highlights to the diffuse part in the shader. System color is just another vertex color attribute that is used in an additive way, and it is added on top of the base color. I can show you maybe in the shader. The way it is used, we have the base color, and on top of this base color, I have this debug color. If I set this to red, we just add the red color on top of the base color. Usually I would connect maybe some random attributes to this debug input for debugging some attributes. In this case, I connected the system color to it, so this way I can add highlights like you can see in here. I can show you the mask, so only the white strands are affected, and if I increase saturation and change the hue, you can see the white strands are now colorized. Okay, so I will show you now how to recreate something similar from scratch. I will use this character head, and then let's load the scalp from hair library subcomponents, select the scalp, and append this to the scene. Move this closer to your character head, and then I will go to the modifiers, shrink wrap, and set target as character head. Now I will apply this modifier, go to edit mode, and for hair with split I want to remove this sharp edge and instead move it to here. So this will be defining the split on the hairstyle. Now I will add a few guides with hair drawing enabled. Hold D, left click and drag, and that's it. Those two will be enough. Let's add hair system on top of those. Maybe I will resample them because they are not too uniform. So Ctrl-Shift-H, resample, and make them uniform. 5 points should be enough. Okay, so let's add hair system. One way is Ctrl-Shift-H and add strand generator. And the issue I wanted to show in this example is that we have clumps of strands in one place, then the bald spot. You could fix that by adjusting the Poisson disk distribution, but the easier way is to switch hair system from strand generator to the strands from the 2D UV pattern. Now it's supposed to be more uniform, but it doesn't look too good. The issue is when I shrink wrap the scalp, it modified the mesh, but I have now to update the UVs. Now the distribution looks better. We just have to now tweak the guides. You should automatically have this hair modeling tool enabled. I will use the root mode and make sure that proportional fall-off is disabled. And I will also enable draft strands overlays. So now you can select the strands, move them, rotate and scale, like so. I will duplicate this to the side, scale this down to make it shorter, duplicate this to the back, and let's say it looks good. And I will duplicate also this to the side in here. You see only the strands that are on the same mesh island that the guide is are only affected. And let's duplicate this also in here. So I want to get this kind of effect where we get long hair strands on the top and shorter on the back and on the sides. And when you use hair modeling, there's list of hotkeys, so I can extend strands, straighten them, or use other helpers. Okay, so let's tweak maybe density. I will bump up density, and in the UV region distribute should be automatically added. So I will manually pick UV regions and pick those two by shift clicking. If you want, you can scale UI with S key. and then I can accept with enter. Now let's add a bit of flow to this hairstyle. I will add the noise deformer, and if the noise is too strong, reduce global scale. Now I am not interested in the per strand noise, so I will set this amplitude to 0. Now we have only the uniform noise. Per strand noise is only useful for if you want to distort each strand in unique way. With uniform noise we have this kind of wave-like effect, and we can change the amplitude in here, and we can change the frequency. If your global scale is set correctly, then usually I would keep frequency between 0.5 up to 1. And if you like, you can play with the seed to maybe find some more interesting hair shape. But actually default values of seed 0 look okay. If your noise is too strong, it can move hair strands inside the character head. So I will push this out in the move strands, push out, and something like this. Now maybe I will duplicate this strand in here. And okay, now I often also add tilt, align to source surface. Now I will colorize this to red, so it will be easier to describe. And let's add second hair system, so using strands from UV pattern. Now the issue you see first thing is the interpolation doesn't work. You have to tell those green hair system that they should follow the red system. I will assign R tag in the tag column to the red system, and in the green hair system, in the parent, I will tell it to use those red strands with R tag. Now you see interpolation works, except like the density is way too small for the green strands. So let's bump up density. It looks better now, except I want to remove those red strands. I do not need them in the final hairstyle. So in the strand generator, I will enable remove parent strands. Notice that mesh island split is usually automatically enabled. Without it, the hair split doesn't look good. Okay, so we have denser hairstyle. In the UV region distribute, I will pick UV regions and select with shift click all the red ones. Enter to accept. Now let's add maybe a bit of the clamps. And I want to remove the clamps on the bottom part. So I could mask the clamp strength with, for example, a vertex group. You notice we have already a few groups created. It is because the sculpt was used from the library and it has already some vertex groups. So without mask, with mask, I can preview the mask. I want to adjust it, so I will actually add remap node. If you do not see it, just update the add-on. And on the remap mask, to move the gradient up, I will increase the from min parameter, something like that. And let's preview how it looks like without clamps, with clamps. So I guess it looks okay. And if you want to adjust the vertex group we used in here, you can press on this button and you see you will be able to customize this. Okay, so let's go to the hair modeling. Maybe I will add and duplicate this guide here. Then move this to the back, make it rotate, scale this down, rotate slightly like that. I do not actually like how we get this split that goes up to the bottom. The way to fix that would be to create two guides close to it that are parallel. So I could use this guide, duplicate it to the right, and let's move them until they will close the gap. And then I would duplicate those and maybe scale them slightly up, move them slightly together, so you cannot almost see the split in the bottom. Now the other issue is that we got those waves visible. It is probably because we are spamming on this uniform hex pattern. I could change the pattern in here. So in theory you could increase noise amplitude in here, that will randomize the strands. But instead I will just add another noise to the green hair system. Now let's reduce the scale. I am not interested in uniform noise, so I will set amplitude to 0, and then let's adjust the per strand noise. So as a reminder, per strand noise will adjust and deform each strand in a unique way. So let's see, without noise, with noise, it looks more interesting and less repetitive. So it works okay. Now, often you can find happy and nice looking hair with happy accidents by adding two noise on each other. So red system has some uniform noise applied, and then I want to add also in the green system also a bit of uniform noise. This way I do not have to groom it, and it can make the hair look nicer. So I added a bit of uniform amplitude, and then let's play with the seed. Maybe let's reduce frequency slightly. And if we are lucky, we will find something that gets has nice flow. So I don't know. Let's say maybe this one looks okay. So it is a matter of guiding the hair strands manually with a few guides, and then maybe adding a bit of noise on top to make it just look cool. Now, this is a bit over the top. The length, I want to trim those and snap those strands. So let's add in the move strands, snap. It looks slightly better. If I set this to 1, you see we have this kind of look. It is because I use this influence range mask, which is kind of black in the root and white on the tips, so that's why mostly tips are affected. But if I want to snap the whole strand more strongly, I just have to reduce this influence range. So this way more and more of the parts of the strand will be affected. Now I do not want to snap everything so much, so let's set this to maybe 50%. And then, just to prevent any clipping, like for example in here, the strands get close to the character head, so I often then add push out. So if you imagine you are first like shrinking strands to the cutter head, then pushing them out, so they are kind of squeezed in between. So that's why this looks a bit uniform. Anyway, I do not want to push those strands too much on the sides, so let's mask this with the vertex group, the same gradient, and it looks somewhat better. Okay, so the hair strands looks a bit thick, so I will reduce the profile width. Now everything is a bit not dense enough, so I will go to the green strand generation and let's bump this up to like 57 maybe. The next issue I see right now is that the flow is a bit uniform on the top. It is because we are using clamps, and clamps follow the red strands. So we have to adjust and randomize the red strands, which are guiding those clamps. In the red hair system, we had the noise without any per strand amplitude. So let's add some per strand amplitude. You see this has broken the flow. Maybe let's see how it looks from the back. I do not like this spot. What is going on in here? Let's move and add maybe a bit more guides in here. So what I was doing, I was adding per strand noise on the top. Let's see how it works on the back. So without noise, with per strand noise. So maybe let's say I want to reduce the per strand noise on the bottom. So let's mask this again with the same vertex group. And I want to move this gradient up just like previously. So I will remap this gradient. Let's preview it. So to move it up, I will increase this parameter. And I want tiny bit of noise on the bottom. So I will set to min from 0 to like maybe 20-30%. So let's see how it looks now with noise. I see that we have some hair strands that are we have some profiles around those guides, those green guides. I want to remove them. Like let's preview the hair system. It's mostly green strands, but we have few black strands. Those black strands are from the guides. To get rid of them in the red hair system generator, I will use remove parent strands. So it's hard to see probably, but it removes the hair cards in here. Okay, so we are getting there slowly. Maybe let's bump up also density on the red system so we have tinier clamps. So let's bump this to 29 maybe, so it looks better. The next step, I want to reduce this gap. In green system, after noise, let's add the move to border. Now this looks very thick, except the one issue. We got bold spots in here. Let me explain this, how it works. So with this influence range, we are affecting roots with 100%, and now let's affect tip with 100%. Now it should be clear what is going on. We have the scalp and scalp borders and scalp split line in here, and we are moving the hair strands to those borders. Now I do not want actually to move hair strands to this area around here, and I do not want to move them to the bottom of the scalp. So instead I will do the trick. Let's go to the scalp, and I will mark those edges. Ctrl E, mark sharp. And now on the hair strands, I will use custom attribute those sharp edges. Now you see hair strands do not go to the ear or to the bottom. Okay, and I do not want to affect the hair tips, so I will set this to 0. But still, we have to fill those empty spots. So I will mask this effect with edge mask and use edge attribute distance. Now let's pick the same sharp edges, reduce distance of the influence for this mask to maybe like 4 centimeters. And I want to invert this effect. Now let's see, without with. I inverted the mask because if you imagine we have the border edge and some hairstrand root that is close to edge, it is close, so distance is small. This would result in the small value of the mask, but we wanted the high value for the strands that are close to this edge. So that's why I wanted to invert this effect. So now you see, if I reduce this value, only the strands that are closest to the sharp edge are affected. So anyway, this allows me to get kind of more density on the front and on the split edge without having to add more strands everywhere. And let's see, let's add tilt, align to source surface. Doesn't change much, but yeah, usually it is a good idea to add this. And from experience, I know that we have this kind of effect. The hair strand is going straight and then it's kind of bending. And usually it is because we are snapping the strands from the top, which is affecting like the second half bit much. So it is snapping this flat. And I want this snap to kind of ease out this effect. So it may be that I just need to change this influence range. Maybe not. So maybe actually on the push out I have to change this influence range. Okay, so now actually I eased out this effect, so we get a bit more smoother transition. And just like on the left, let's preview the tilt of those cards. So actually this looks very good. But maybe let's break this. Let's move this right. Okay, I will change seed. It may look worse, but I wanted to show you how to set up the align to border. So in the noise, let's change the seed. It still wants to look. It still doesn't want to like twist itself to sideways. But the idea is, okay, I will explain this anyway. So after align tilt, let's imagine those are tilted. So we want to go around the scalp. Imagine that. And then, so I will use align tilt to mesh border. And normally you would see them aligned. And in this case, I would use custom attribute and use the sharp edges. So this way you would only rotate towards those edges. And usually the issue would be that it would align everything, even the strands that are far away. So you would mask this out with the edge distance, edge attribute distance. Use the same sharp edge, reduce range to maybe 1 centimeter, and invert. I think we have to invert that so only the white strands are affected. But in this case it doesn't change too much. But this is how we would set up this. Okay, now it is, I think, mostly time to adjust the colors. So on the left we had a bit more deformers like slide points, lengthen, simplification, but they do not change too much. Yeah, so in this case I will just go to colorization. So I will set factor, which is black and white gradient. And currently it goes from black to white. But I want to make this kind of like fake amide occlusion effect, and we do not want those dark spots in the front. Now the issue is that if I mask this, the mask only can make like the effect darker. It cannot make this brighter. So we have to do workaround. And let's do it. The simplest way would be to set influence range to white And you see now I can adjust value, and this will change the brightness in a uniform way. I will add influence range root to tip, and now the effect is inverted. Roots are white. This is kind of advantage in this case actually, because we have white roots. I can add multiplicative mask on top, which will make them darker. Later we will fix the inverted colors. Okay, so I want to make the front and here darker. We have this edge distance mask, and let's use the sharp edges that we created previously. Distance is way too high, so let's set this to maybe 1 centimeter. This is 10 centimeters. Reduce this to 1 centimeter. And it's almost what we wanted. Now we affected the color on the roots, made them darker. So it's almost good, except everything is inverted. But there is the invert mask. So now you'll see the dark front hairstyle is now brighter. And in the center, the hair roots are still dark. Maybe I could update this mask, and you see there is this factor, so I could fade this effect on the front. Okay, and lastly, I want to make the sides darker. So let's add the vertex group that we usually add. And that is almost everything. Let's preview this mask. And maybe we'll move this vertex group up. Let me think. I want to make this darker. So move the gradient up. So it should work if I just remap this. And just like previously, increase that. And it kind of works, okay. Okay, and now what I want to add a bit of highlights with the system color. So in the color, set system color, we will customize this attribute. If I set this to red, we will just add red color on top of the base color. I will want to mask that to create those kind of white highlights in the front. So let's mask this with the noise texture, and let's preview this mask. So nothing, it looks like uniform gray. Let's bump up scale, and now we see some tiny bit shading change. Let's bump up this more, and now we see some shading changes. I want to increase contrast and reduce brightness for that. So let's add the offset gain, and let's preview it. I want to increase contrast, so gain times 2, and offset at negative offset like so. And now you can change offset on the texture noise. So this way we can make some places brighter. Okay, so this is almost everything, except I do not want to affect the bottom part. So just like always, I would add vertex group mask, and we are not affecting the back of the parts. And I would change this to like gray color. So let's see, without with. So that's it. I kind of recreated something similar to the setup on the left, and hope you like this tutorial. See ya.